Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I am here actually on a trip with my wife. And I wanted to come in and talk to you guys about something I saw that just really made me think. It really made me think because it lets me know kind of where we are, just generally as a community, as a people. It's kind of concerning, and I wanted to kind of break it down just to give you some insights into the world you're living in and what you're kind of seeing around you. So Zakia said Sankofa Jabbar, I want to say that that's her name, sent me a screenshot of a quote by a Rutgers professor. The professor, her name is Brittney Cooper. You might have seen her. She is a Twitter name by I think the Crunk Professor or something like that. And Brittany came in and said something really interesting about black men. And she actually compared black men to, in my view, in my opinion, from what I read, it looked like she was relating and equating or connecting black men to the Buffalo shooter. And actually, before I dig into this, I have to stop for a second and do a housekeeping thing. And not only ask you guys to hit the thumbs up button, but I want to ask you, can you hear me okay? Give me a yes in the chat if you can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me. I'd like some yeses because I need to know that I'm coming through okay because I'm actually in the middle of the ocean. I'm on a trip with my wife and we're on a cruise ship. And I don't know if you guys can. I want to make sure the Wi-Fi, because you know that cruise ship Wi-Fi is funny. Okay, thank you, Rachel and Rita and Lady Africa and Jonathan. Okay, so let's go ahead and kind of dissect this. So this is interesting, and this isn't just about her. It's really about the integrity of Rutgers University. You know, in terms of what Rutgers considers to be scholarship. And so let me just pull this up, and I'm going to show you what quote I saw. I couldn't find the original quote. She blocks her Twitter pretty strongly, so it's hard to really see everything and where it is. But here's a quote that I found. So let me read this, and I'm going to dissect this, and then I'm going to kind of give you my thoughts in terms of what I'm seeing here. So she says, while I was not attempting to compare black men to Peyton Gendron, and Peyton Gendron is the Buffalo shooter, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that's, I want to say that's his name. I hope I didn't get that wrong. Let me know if I got it wrong, because if I mess up, I need y'all to tell me I messed up. But I believe that's his name. He said, she said, when I made a flippant response to a friend's post here, I absolutely mean what I say about the internet radicalization of black men. Y'all not become y'all not become mass shooters, but you're still a possible threat. So so here's the thing. Here's what's interesting, right? So she starts off by saying, I'm not making the comparison, but then she makes the comparison. Do you follow what I'm saying? It's like somebody saying, I really like you. I think you're a great person, but then they punch you in the face. Or I think you're a beautiful woman, but then I call you, I say you look like a dog, right? So it's kind of like that's what people will kind of do is sort of blatantly deny what they're doing, but then they'll do it. They'll do the thing that they're kind of denying. So here's what I want to kind of pay attention to is at the very end of the comment. She says, I absolutely mean mean what I say about the internet radicalization of black men. Y'all not become mass shooters, but you're still a possible threat. Now, I want you to kind of look at that last sentence. Y'all not mass shooters, but you're still a possible threat. So, what she's basically saying is that you're not mass shooters. Like, you haven't done it, but you might, right? You're not a threat yet, but you're a possible threat. Now, why is that a problematic statement? Why did that get my spidey senses going to hear this from a faculty member representing Rutgers University? Well, it bothers me because black men are already under the watch of every white supremacist organization in this country. We are already under threat for everything from being the first to be aborted before we're born, to being the ones most likely to go to prison, to the ones most likely to be shot by the police. And the part of the reason that black men are the ones who are most likely to be shot, the ones who are most likely to be incarcerated, the ones who are most targeted for extermination, is because when they exterminate you, they're eliminating you as a possible threat. That little black boy in your womb, black women, is seen as a possible threat. When I was in my mother's womb, I was seen as a possible threat. So they said, so Margaret Sanger and all the, people that started Planned Parenthood and all that, they said, okay, let's just eliminate the possible threat. I want to focus on those last two words of what Miss Cooper had to say. So she says, possible threat. You get shot by police because you're a possible threat. They lock you up because you're a possible threat. I've seen scenarios where a cop will go and put a black man in prison for 50 years because he's a possible threat. So here's what I'm getting at. Here's what I'm going with, right? So she makes this comment where she claims to be not comparing black men to the shooter, the Buffalo shooter, but then she doesn't apologize. She doesn't back away from it. She then jumps in and says that black men are a possible threat. Well, these kinds of comments are the kinds of comments that come from people who put black men in danger. While she might not be a person that might go out and massacre a bunch of black men, a person's words can prepare you for massacre. You got to understand, when Hitler went to exterminate the Jews, the first thing they did was they used words to get people to see the Jewish community as a possible threat. And when someone is seen as a possible threat or seen as a nuisance or menace to society, society has no problem seeing that individual or group of people exterminated. So with this lady, Professor Cooper, um, she's at Rutgers University. Rutgers, apparently, I guess I don't know what kind of faculty they hire at Rutgers. I have no idea, but she's on the faculty there. I don't know exactly what her her title, her rank is. My wife's a full professor of social work. I'd be shocked if Professor Cooper was a full professor. That would make me have even less respect for Rutgers University and their standards. But either way, though, it doesn't matter. I mean, shoot, I didn't even make tenure myself. Who knows? Maybe I was radicalized. Maybe I was one of these radical black men that she would like to that she considers a possible threat. I have no idea. But the thing about it is that when you have people from major white-run institutions, even when they have a black face, saying things that characterize black men as a possible threat, when none of us ever did anything wrong to her, that is harmful to all of us. Like I would never sit here and say, well, black women, I don't think that all of y'all are like the Buffalo shooter, but y'all are a possible threat. Y'all are radicalized. Y'all are a possible threat. I mean, that would just sound crazy. I would never say that. Don't get me wrong. I think individually, you can talk about individual people. Like you could say something about Cardi B if you want to, and what she's, what that music is kind of doing to our little girls. You could even, and I don't even have a problem with people who critique, things that Kevin Samuels said. I think Kevin Samuels could have said, he could have made his point in a nicer way. I didn't like seeing him beating up on women every night. I didn't like that. I felt like that was going on. I feel like you can be a strong man without having to get into boxing matches with women every day. In fact, I don't. Where in the school tradition I was raised in, a man does not go toe to toe, blow for blow with women to make his point. He doesn't do that. He lets women have their voice, and then he has his, and that's it. So I understand. I understand if somebody has a critique of an individual person, but when you're making broad-based comments about an entire group of people, that's when you have genocides occur. That's when you have major threats to the existence of an entire populace take place. And so I point out this comment, and for those of you who just came in, I'm talking about a professor at Rutgers University. Her name is Brittney Cooper, and apparently she compared or she was accused anyway of comparing black men to Peyton Gendron. She says she doesn't really apologize, but she says, I made a flippant response to a friend's post on here. I absolutely mean what I say about the internet radical. She says, while I was not attempting to make the comparison, I absolutely mean what I said about the internet radicalization of black men. Y'all not become mass shooters, but you're still a possible threat. So she didn't say specific black men. She didn't say a certain category of black men. She just said, y'all black men. So let me ask you this. So she talks about radicalization. I'd like to ask y'all a question. Do you think that this Rutgers professor has been radicalized? Give me y'all's things. Give me thoughts. Give me a yes or no. I mean, she talks about others being radicalized. And perhaps, and I'm gonna tell you, people talk like this. I see it all the time. I see it all the time. I bet if you look in her history, there's a lot of pain in her history. And she's probably maybe I bet maybe who knows, maybe her daddy walked out on her when she was a baby. Maybe she doesn't like men at all. Maybe she had a boyfriend who did some terrible things to her. We can't take responsibility for that. So I want to be the first to apologize to whatever those terrible, horrible men in your family did to you to make you the person that you are. I want to apologize for them. I didn't do it. No, none of the men on here do it. The men in this space respect women. The men at the All Black National Convention, we love black women. We got the backs of black women. But there are men out here we know who don't think the same way, and for that I apologize. But here's the deal: if you really look at the internet and you look at some of the extreme behavior from men and women, because you got your male versions of this too. You know, you got some real weird stuff coming out of the mouths of men. You know, what you're really looking at is you're looking at undiagnosed, untreated trauma on public display on the internet. That's what you're seeing. You're seeing people. The internet loves crazy people. The internet loves crazy people, and crazy people will get 100,000 followers on Twitter or Instagram, and then because this person has never been in a space where people actually listen to what they had to say, and because they never got treated for the wounds that they experienced when they were children, they get on the internet and just kind of lash out, and they lash out at any and everybody that's hurt them all throughout their life, and this becomes a poison to the community. These individuals are what I call the Negro naysayers. The Negro naysayers are as bad as the white supremacists. The Negro naysayer does not want you to be successful. The Negro naysayer does not want black men and black women to love each other. The Negro naysayer does not want black people to grow. The Negro naysayer does not want black unity. The Negro naysayer is probably as effective at destroying the black community as they would be if they were a government agent. And don't think for a second, I mean, again, I'm going to tell you this too. Don't think for a second that there aren't agents out here. I want you to go watch a video. There's a video, I'm going to find a little clip of it. There's a former high level mafia boss by the name of Michael Franzese. And Michael Franzese was speaking about Al Sharpton. And Michael, I like his channel. He's very straightforward. He makes a lot of sense. And he just started talking about Al Sharpton. And he said some things about Sharpton's working with the feds that will knock your socks off. You know, I would tell you, I would be willing to bet you that if you go check out this video, his name is spelled Franzese, and he basically said Sharpton was an agent. He said that the reason he became an agent is because they tried to make a deal, and Sharpton tried to sell drugs to the guy, and it turned out he was selling drugs to a federal agent, and as a result, they turned him and got him to work on behalf of the government. And this is all there. You can go look at it. I'm not going to say anything else about it other than do your own research. So what I'm saying to you is that in general, I would say that one standard I would look for is this: anybody who doesn't want black people, black men and women, to do better together is not an asset to the community. Anybody who says things about black men that's going to get us killed is not an asset to the community. Now, this woman, this Rutgers professor, Brittney Cooper, she may not ever do anything to a black man. She may never ever actually physically attack a black man. But the words of people have power. You're sitting at this big white university. You got a little bit of a platform there. They've co-signed on you, and y'all know how it is when white folks co-sign on people. They get more validation. Negroes get validation when white people like them. And you're not necessarily attacking black men, but you're saying things that could get black men attacked. And if you want to understand the power of a woman's words to get a man attacked, just look at Will and Jada. Look at that situation at the Oscars. Look at that situation at the Oscars. Jada Pinkett Smith did not slap Chris Rock. Jada did not slap anybody. But Jada got into the head of Will. Next thing you know, Chris is getting slapped. So the words of women do have power. So while this Rutgers professor may never actually personally go and assault a black man, her defining black men as possible threats and defining us in an unconditional sort of way as possible threats puts us under the triple beam radar of the police department. It makes everybody You're sitting next to these white folks at this university, and you're saying black men are possible threats. Your university is obviously co-signing on this. You're institutionalizing this very basic idea that black men are a threat, and so you're going to get somebody hurt. So maybe you need to think a little bit. You're supposed to be a scholar. I don't know what kind of scholar you are. I don't know where you went to school. I don't know where you got your degree. I have no clue. I don't give a shit. But at the end of the day, scholars are supposed to have nuance. Scholars are supposed to have critical thinking skill. Scholars are supposed to have the ability to understand multiple points of view. Scholars are supposed to have freedom of expression and thought and be able to consider the perspectives of those who disagree with them. That's what a real thinker and a real scholar is supposed to do. And the reality is that the truth is, in this world, you have a whole bunch of educated idiots. You have a whole bunch of people, or maybe they went to school and learned a couple things, but they get their job because they fulfill a certain agenda. You fulfill the white agenda, the gay agenda, whatever. You because you fit the agenda, that gets you the job. It ain't your qualifications. If you want to see this, just go look at some of these Negroes on Fox News. Look at some of these Negroes on MSNBC. They ain't the best and brightest that we have. They're not the smartest people in the bunch. These Negroes got in because they're good soldiers for whatever Democrat or Republican agenda they're pursuing. So I just would say at the end of the day, look, if you can't come at black men or black women with love, then I don't know what to do with you. And I'm not even just talking about people like this lady, this Rutgers professor. I'm talking about really some of the men too. Y'all know I love black men. I've been riding for black men since forever. Y'all know that. But I mean, some guys, when you're sitting there beating up on a single mother who ain't never did nothing to you, that makes me want to just talk to you about what masculinity actually looks like. Masculinity is not bullying people who already feel bad about their situation. It's not. That's not masculinity. It's easy to bully somebody who's weak. It's easy. Just like it was easy for Will Smith to slap Chris Rock because he was short and tiny. But Will Smith never would have smacked D-Rock. If Dwayne Johnson, D-Rock, had been on that stage, Will Smith would have stayed his ass in that seat. So there's nothing, and people know this. That's why people made fun of Will. Will thought that he was showing his masculinity by slapping Chris Rock. He wasn't showing his masculinity. He was showing a lack of discipline that is not at all consistent with being a masculine male. Will Smith, I just don't understand it. I really don't. And I know I'm jumping a little bit from topic to topic, but really what I'm talking about is a couple of things. One is the power of a woman's words, which we brought in Jada because of that. And also, on the flip side of that, the corollary of that, in terms of men who speak the same way as this lady when it comes to women, I'm just saying, come on, man, be a man. Express your point of view. Look, here's, like, for example, I really thought it was interesting when I heard a lot of guys saying, you should never date a single mother. I'll never date a single mother. I didn't understand that. I can understand you saying, I'll never date a stripper. I can understand you saying, I'll never date a raggedy ass ragamuffin. I can understand you saying, I'll never date a chick who's too ghetto and ratchet in front of my mama. I get all of that. But when you say I would never date a single mother, I thought that was the weirdest thing, especially when you have men saying this who were raised by single mothers. That's the weirdest thing. Or when you hear men saying it who are actually single fathers themselves. Like, you've created 4 single mothers, but you refuse to date one. Like that's just, if you have that sentiment, it's okay to have it. You can do whatever you want, but you should probably keep that to yourself because it sounds a little weird. It just sounds very weird. So to me, the only men who could say I will never date a single mother might be men who don't have any kids. If that's the case, then I get it. That makes sense. But if you got 3, 4 babies, mamas, and you saying I won't date a single mother, that's just, you just sounded backward, boy. Like, you just sounding awfully strange right now. And so I think that when you're talking about this thing we're dealing with, right? When we're talking about dealing with family and community and us really figuring out how to come together, I'm going to encourage any black man who's listening, just be a man. And I'm not here to be the all-time authority on what it means to be a man, but let me just tell you some things that in my view don't align with manhood. All this talk about I'm an alpha male, I'm an alpha male, I'm an alpha male. Well, first of all, you should look up the history of what it means to be an alpha male. Alpha males don't tend to succeed very much because the idea that you are supposed to show your masculinity by dominating and bullying everybody around you is not a strategy for success. The men who become millionaires, billionaires, and NBA champions are individuals that know how to operate in a collaborative and cooperative environment with mutual support for other people. When Michael Jordan was an alpha male, when Michael Jordan was an alpha male where he scored all the points, took all the shots, took all the credit, he never won a championship. If y'all remember, y'all saw Michael Jordan as an alpha male back in the 1980s. Back in the 80s, he was an alpha male. He would say stupid shit like, "Well, there's no." they said, "Well, Michael, there's no I in team." He would say, "Well, but there is I in win." Problem was he wasn't winning nothing. He couldn't win a championship. You know why? Because the Detroit Pistons whooped his ass every time he tried to get to the basket. They defeated him as a unit, as a team, as a squad, as a crew. None of them were better athletes than Michael Jordan. But Michael learned the hard way that trying to be the alpha was not going to help him win a championship. Michael started winning championships when he started making his teammates better. When he got Scottie Pippen and he got John Paxson shooting out from the perimeter, and he had guys underneath getting the rebounds. He had Dennis Rodman playing backup. He was the thug. Michael Jordan learned how to pass the ball a little bit better. He became more cooperative. He was still the man, but he wasn't the alpha. So this idea that being an alpha makes you successful and all that, that's just not true. Most men who are successful know how to operate as part of a cooperative, part of a family unit, part of a team, part of a squad, part of a crew. So don't let these guys trick you. I mean, I'm telling you, a lot of these so-called alpha men on the internet making YouTube videos are alpha men who are living in their mama's basement, and they're living off of little $2 checks they're getting from making YouTube videos that get you gassed up with a bunch of bullshit. So that's the first thing I would say. Second thing I would say in general is that masculinity doesn't mean you have to sit around arguing with women all day. It doesn't mean don't get me wrong. I've heard guys say, I can't believe these women. They got their standards are just too high. What's wrong with these women? We need to teach them that their standards are too high. I'm like, what the hell does that have to do with you? So what? If the woman's standards are too high for you, then find a different woman. Seriously, let her sit over there with her high standards and do it. I know what it means. I see it. I see women that have standards that are too high that don't make any sense. You ain't got nothing to offer, but you trying to find Prince Charming making 300,000 a year. Great. If you can make that work, then go do that. And who knows? Maybe she's figured it out. Maybe she's just got some special skills in the bedroom, or maybe she's just got a couple boyfriends and she ain't trying to get a husband. I don't give a shit. I would just say that all this obsessive behavior toward women comes off almost like a type of jealousy of women. Like almost like honestly what gay men do. Like there are some gay men, not all of them, who just really hate women or trans men. They're mad at women. They're mad because women have something that they want. They want that woman's man. So they'll hate on women and talk shit about women all day long. The strongest men I know, the ones who are most comfortable in their skin and comfortable with their status, don't just sort of sit around and spend 8 hours watching YouTube videos complaining about women. That's just that's just a little weird to me. Maybe I'm strange, maybe I'm old fashioned. I don't know what it is, but it's just a little weird to me. The men I know who are really succeeding are off being successful. They're off taking care of business. They're handling their family. They're spending time with their kids. You try to talk to them and complain about some lady you saw on YouTube, they're just gonna be like, "What are you talking about?" So, so, so that's my thought for the men. Now, I would say, as far as women go, I think in general, I wish as a community we would take the time to just truly understand the amount of damage that is done to all of us when you have so many homes that have the missing father. You have so many homes that don't have the father, and people act like that's normal. Well, let me explain it like this: 76% of all black women grow up without a dad. 76%. That's huge. That's a big number. Now, here's what I want you to process. I want you to imagine. Imagine if 76% of all men grew up without a mother, and you're trying to date a man. And so, 76% of the men that you meet, ladies, never had a mama. What kind of man would he be? Now I'm gonna tell you. I'll use myself as an example. I'll let myself be the guinea pig here. If I've been raised by my father, first of all, my father would he was messy, like a dude. He was crass as hell. I would probably see women as sex objects. I would know nothing about what it means to be gentle toward a woman. I would know nothing about how to speak to a woman. I would know nothing about women at all. Like if I grew up in a frat house basically with dudes, I'm not gonna know much about how to relate to women. They're not gonna make sense to me. They're gonna be confusing to me. I'm gonna make a lot of mistakes. So if you think about that, right, how off balance I would be if I grew up with just my father and never my mother, I think that you might want to consider what this might do to some of our women. So what I think that we need to what I would say, here's what I would say then. If you really want to grow and heal and really fix this thing, number one, you'll get therapy. A lot of us have so much pain and we just think we got to tough it out and get through it. There's therapists out here for a reason. They can help you. Number two, once you get your therapy, you got to go fill in the gaps. If your daddy wasn't there to teach you how to be a man, well, you might need to go find some quality men and go really learn some things about manhood, like different kinds of men. Not just your favorite rapper, not just some basketball player who's having sex with 10 women a day, not some jackass on the internet who says a bunch of shit that sounds good. I'm talking about different quality men who are in a place in life that you want to get to. Same thing is true with women. Women, look, ladies, if you want to relate to men, if you want to beat out other women in this competition for the man that you want, you probably should spend some time studying and learning how men think, what men want, how to talk to a man, how to listen to a man, how to make a man feel happy to be with you. Far too many people receive this weird, how can I say this? Like almost like preaching to the choir, where they sit around and they have somebody constantly tell them that men are the reason for all their problems. That that's the weirdest thing in the world. So when I go back to people like this lady, this professor at Rutgers, Brittney Cooper, who compared black men to the shooter in Buffalo, or she said she didn't do it, but I believe that she did. I read her response tweet. It wasn't even an apology; it was just a response tweet. She's basically saying that black men, are radicalized and that we're a serious threat and all these other things. I see what I see is I see a woman who probably can't relate to men very well. Um, Maybe she just competes with men. I'd be really curious to know if she's ever dated a man or if she's is dating a man. And if she's not dating men, then she probably has no use for them. So unfortunately, individuals that think this way, when they are poisoned in this way, and they've been validated by white institutions in this way, what they become are enemies to the black community because these institutions really don't think that highly of black men in the first place. Like I bet you if I went to Rutgers University and I went to her department, Africana Studies or all the other departments, I'd be curious to see, not even Africana Studies, let's go around the whole campus. I'd be curious to see how many African American males they have even hired on the faculty and given promotions to. They probably given promotions to a couple, but I'd be curious to see how many straight African American males, husband father types, actually are doing well and thriving on that campus. And I bet you that the numbers aren't that high. I know that when I was at Syracuse University, there were very few African American males. I think in 100 years of existence, my department had never promoted an African American male. So ultimately, these institutions, they tend to have a very liberal bias, and the liberal bias becomes a racist liberal bias because because they tend to prop up feminism and LGBTism above things that we care about, like the black family and black men and black women getting along with each other. Look, I ain't got nothing against people that are in certain categories, when it comes to gender and sexuality and all that. But at the same time, I'm really trying to figure out why you are assisting white supremacists in the constant attack on black men. I really would say that ultimately, at the end of the day, as black people, we have to pay very close attention to this. So, anyway, those are my thoughts on this. Uh, I would say that she owes black men an apology, but she'll probably never deliver it, because that's how the internet streets work. You don't people don't apologize; they just like to get out there and fight and get Twitter followers and all that. But I would encourage all of you who are trying to have better lives and really trying to do the right thing you got to identify these Negro naysayers when you see them. Identify this crazy toxic energy when you see it, and you must be radically against the radicalism. Like, you have to be, if you're pro black family, you must be radically pro black family. If you are pro black man, you must be radically pro black man. If you're a pro black woman, you must be radically pro black woman. If you're pro black children, you must be radically pro black children. Because right now we live in a world of extremism, and these toxic, crazy people who live lonely, terrible lives are the ones who are given the biggest platforms, and they're the ones who spew the most poison into society. And it's not going to make anybody happy. So, in that tradition of honoring the black woman, I'd like to honor my wife. Today is our 1 year wedding anniversary, and it has been an absolute honor to be married to this beautiful black woman, who I'm going to actually leave this podcast now to go spend time with her. And we're on a trip right now to celebrate our 1 year. And I want to say thank you so much to those of you who have sent your well wishes. I appreciate it. And I'm gonna tell you this. You know what? Um, I saw all the comments. When we got married a year ago, I saw all the people that said wonderful things, and I appreciate that. And then I saw the people who didn't understand. I heard the comments. Boy, you a simp. You simping. You married a single mom. Why would you take care of somebody else's kids? Well, let me just say this. Let me double down on all of that and tell y'all this. This is me giving you my honest to God assessment of all of this. There has never in my life been a greater thrill that I have ever had than to raise these children. Let me just say this: it doesn't matter to me. I partner with their father. He is a cool guy, and I'm telling you, if you haven't experienced the blessing of children, then I honestly feel sorry for you, and you're never gonna see me back down from none of that. Being especially that little girl, that's Tater right there. It's my little sweetheart, and and I when I count the greatest blessings in my life, believe me, I have known fame, I have known money, I've made a lot of money, I've been around the world, I've had the chance to meet celebrities, and nothing I have ever accomplished or been able to do in my life is greater than the thrill and the experience I've had from raising these children. So call it what you want to, but brothers, I encourage you, live the life you need to live, and don't be letting these suckers on the internet who are making videos in their mama's basement get you doing making decisions that's gonna have you up here dying alone or dying in the arms of some chick you don't even know, or sitting up in the nursing home by yourself with nobody changing your shitty diapers. That's where you're gonna end up if you don't learn how to invest in people. And I'm not telling you to do what I did, though. You ain't got to do what I did. I'm not saying that at all. I'm a man. I make my own choice. You make your own choice. But at the end of the day, don't be following the crowd, buddy. You follow the crowd may be loud, but the crowd will kill you. And that's just my 2 cents for every black man who's hearing anything that I have to say. All right, guys, I got to run. If you could hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, share, subscribe Also, just another reminder, if you have kids, you want to teach them about economics, we have these great financial workbooks. So you can go take a look at financialworkbooks.com. We cover real estate, stocks, bonds, everything else. So feel free to go take a look at that. Or actually, I'm sorry, not real estate yet. We cover money and stocks and investing. Those are the three things we cover in the workbook. So feel free to go take a look. All right, have a good night, and I'm going to spend time with my wife, and I'll check in with you guys a little bit later. Love you. Talk to you soon. Hit the thumbs up button if you could. Peace.